Hey everybody, Chad Burmeister, CEO of ScaleX.ai and the AI for Sales expert on the Sales Expert channel. Today I've got Jason Hubbard with me. Jason is with SalesIntel, and you're in for a real surprise. Jason, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, Chad.
Man, what an incredible joining of forces that you have done with SalesIntel. I think you had said, Jason, you were with a company that did digital marketing, growth, strategy for companies, and now you ended up at SalesIntel helping them fuel their growth. What is it about SalesIntel that caused you and your business partner to join the business?
Well, I've known Manoj, who was our CEO and founder, for 6-7 years now. So we've been pretty good friends and watched both of us move through the industry for a while. And then when I started my growth agency, he and I reconnected, and he let me know what he was working on with SalesIntel. And I definitely saw the need in the marketplace for reliable data partners to drive it up. I've been a consumer of other products, other vendors in the marketplace for 5-6 years. So I was very familiar with the marketplace and saw the need for it, and definitely was excited by what Manoj was working on. And so he actually engaged with us as a client, worked with us for a couple of years, and then we came to an agreement for him to acquire my agency for myself and Ariana, one of my employees, to come in-house full time. So it was really great to be part of this journey with Manoj, basically from day one, and then to make the transition over to working full time with him.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've seen data over the last 15 to 20 years. Back in the early days, it was Jigsaw. And I remember being at WebEx in 2005, and I got an email and then a phone call from this guy. I think it was Al Girona. And I get this call and I pick up the phone and I was like, how did you know I'm on your website right now? Right? I was like, I'm looking at, he goes, yeah, I'm calling to walk you through the app. So, you're with WebEx, why don't we just jump on a screen share? And I was just amazed, right? It was instantaneous 5-minute lead response time. And then I ended up buying, and then I negotiated a really tough deal with Garth Moulton, who I know has also been part of, I think, either the board of directors at SalesIntel,
Yep.
and certainly in the strategy parts of the conversation. So, this is a real product, a real company, and I'm glad to see people like you guys joining the business. So the title of today's conversation is The X Factor, AI for Data Intelligence. We'll credit that to Ariana because I think she helped us really come up with the name, because if you think about it, if you have bad gas in the tank or you put the oil in the wrong place, you're going to have pings in your engine, right? I just had a very little mix of one extra quart of oil, and one was a 5W30 and one's like a 10W40. And guess what? The engine's starting to grind a little bit, and that's a huge risk to the machine. So I think what we're going to get into today with you is what's the business value of having good gas in the tank, and what is the X factor, and how does AI play with data intelligence? So hang on for the ride. Here we go. All right, if this is your first time to one of these webinars, right below, there's going to be a few links. So you're in for a surprise. There'll be a few good links under there, including the latest and greatest AI for Sales book with SalesIntel in chapter number 1. So exciting to bring that to you. Feel free to click on the download link, and you can read all about 21 different chapters of how companies are using AI in their technology stack. Okay, if you haven't read the book, there it is. We're also going to be broadcasting this on the AI for Sales podcast through the C-Suite network. So if you're listening there, thanks for joining. Here we go. Let's start by asking this question, Jason. I ask this of everybody who attends the show. Tell us about your company and how do you leverage AI in your platform?
Yeah, absolutely. So SalesIntel, like we talked about briefly, we're a data provider, data partner for B2B businesses. So in a nutshell, you've figured out who you want to go after, or even if you're trying to figure out what companies or accounts you want to target, The crucial piece to any sort of an effective strategy is actually having the information on, what are the companies I want to target? What are the buyers at those companies I want to target? And then how do I get in touch with them? So those are things like email addresses, direct dial phone numbers, physical addresses. Because one of the interesting things that we've seen, in recent history is direct mail is actually making a comeback, as we've clogged a lot of these digital channels. But no matter how much you have any of those processes, campaigns, anything dialed in, if your data is not accurate, if you're not getting the right information, the right collateral to the right people, and it's landing in spam, or it's being bounced, or it's being delivered to the wrong address, or that person's no longer at the company, that's like you talked about, putting bad fuel in the tank. So that engine's only going to run as efficiently as the fuel, the data that you're pumping into it. And then on the AI side, I mean, AI is absolutely crucial to how we do what we do. We leverage a ton of different inputs as far as data sources and signals for us that we use to build out our database. And we run all of that through an AI engine that goes through, and it processes all of that information. And what we wind up with that we've got to get our arms around is really kind of a signal versus noise problem. So we actually have too many data sources, too many signals coming in. And so the biggest challenge is, how do you figure out like which signal, which record of you, Chad, is the right one? Which company are you truly currently at? What's your actual real phone number today? And so trying to sort the wheat from the chaff. And so we use AI to do that, which gets us typically to around 70% accurate. And then we layer on top of that a human element, where we actually have a team of researchers that go through and hand verify all of that machine process data. And that's what gets us from that about 70% accuracy up to the 95% that we guarantee whenever we publish it to the portal.
Got it. That reminds me of the U.S. Postal Service versus Federal Express. And I'll tell you why. The Postal Service, I had a customer called U-Haul that would ship 18,000 pounds. This was first job out of college, so many, many moons ago. And in fact, yeah, that's been a while. So yeah, we'll leave that. We'll leave it at that. But they had 18,000 shipments that would go out, and these were license plates with expired tags. So they would have to catch the truck on the other side. Well, guess what? When you use the Postal Service, there's no guarantee on overnight delivery. So it could be 5 days, 7 days, 1 day. You'd never know. And so when it missed the truck, bad things happened. They had to ship it back, right? Bad physical move of information. Now we're moving into the digital world with AI. And so by shrinking the time it took from 5 days down to overnight delivery, now they had 18,000 packages go out, and 96-7% of them would actually meet the truck and be able to get on the truck and avoid a lot of serious problems. So the difference between 70% Postal Service and 95-97% FedEx overnight, huge difference. It makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, and talking about the fuel in the engine, in particular, as you start dealing with automation and artificial intelligence and stuff like that, the more automated you make it, kind of counterintuitive for a lot of people, the more important the data becomes. Anybody who's had any sort of a marketing automation fail or something like that knows just how catastrophic that can be if your data is not accurate. So, if you're running things at scale in an automated fashion, but you're pumping in bad information and bad data that it's acting off of, then that can really wreak havoc.
Yeah, and we're going to talk in a minute about why ScaleX chose to partner with SalesIntel, but I'm going to leave that for the punchline here at the chase scene. So hang with us. Before we get into that, I'd like to connect with folks who are on this podcast and on this webinar. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to college? Tell us a little bit about Jason.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in a small town in Western North Carolina called Boone. It's where Appalachian State University is. And so, yeah, I grew up there, left from there to college. I did my undergrad at Davidson, which is, of course, where Steph Curry got his start. Only reason why anybody knows anything about Davidson. I studied history and philosophy for my undergraduate there, and then I came to the University of Tennessee here in Knoxville, where I still am, and I'm all but dissertation for a doctorate in philosophy, and then went from that into I got an MBA in marketing and entrepreneurship. So, in a nutshell, I basically spent my 20s in college.
Yeah, well, you've checked a lot of boxes, it sounds like, on different career paths. So my next question kind of helps to uncover that and says, okay, when you were a kid, some of your first memories, I can still have some vivid memories when I was 5 and 6. Not a lot of them, but a few that are those moments in life where you go, that's what I want to do in life, right? What were those things for you that led you to where you are now?
I can't say it led me to where I am now. My passions when I was little were space and dinosaurs. So I was convinced I was going to be the first astronaut paleontologist. Uh, so yeah, I can't really say that led to anything close to where I'm at, but those were my passions.
Wow, that's pretty neat. So you fly to another moon that we don't know about, and you dig and look for maybe alien dinosaurs.
I can't say it was well thought out.
That's good. Well, hey, if all this AI continues and Elon Musk has his way, then I think pretty soon we'll just jump in a spacecraft and go anywhere we want. So you may be able to do that, actually. So that's pretty cool. All right, so let's dive in. On these webinars, typically we stick with questions, but I think the power of combining two platforms is so huge that I thought it'd make sense just to spend a couple minutes and dive in to the combination of the X factor, which is clean data, 95% accurate, human verified, and the scale X factor, which is reaching out to companies at scale. And it's important to have good data. So why don't I start by sharing what's important to me, right? When I was going out and looking at the data market, there's a handful of providers that I would ever consider. Inside View is a good company that helps you with market sizing and market fit. And then there's only a couple of real choices when it comes down to accurate data. And what I've seen in the market with the recent consolidation is that there's some fluff, I would call it, around, how do you put it? Just to be straight up, the platform fee that I see with some of these providers makes me wonder, right? I don't charge a platform fee. I charge access to ScaleX. And as part of that, there's an email component, there's a LinkedIn outreach, there's pay-per-click ads, there's different features and capabilities. But if I were to come in and say, hey, it's going to be $2,000 a month just to participate in the platform, and then you got to pay money for all these other features, forget about that. So what I love about SalesIntel is they offer data as it's meant to be packaged on a per unit basis without a platform fee. So the most important things when I was making my recent decision are, number one, I had to have enough data, right? The universe has to be big enough. So that's number one. Number two is that they have to have direct dial phone numbers. A big part of what we do for our customers is phone conversations. So we leverage agent assisted dialing, and the difference between good data and bad data, the X factor, is it might take 40 dial attempts, even 50 if you're going through switchboards, and it adds drag to the machine. Whereas if you have direct dial numbers, it might take you 18 to 25 to 1 dial to connect. So think about it. If you're manually dialing people in a day and it takes you 40 versus 20, that's 4 hours of work versus 2 hours of work. When you're agent assisted dialing, I can get 8 to 10 conversations an hour instead of 3 to 4. So the difference is massive when it comes to direct dial phone numbers. The third piece is a big part of our strategy for our customers is using LinkedIn. We just did a customer case study recently, Click Data, had 56% reply rate through LinkedIn. And by having the LinkedIn URL as part of the data record was huge for us. The other providers in the space we found did not have the ability to execute LinkedIn URLs where SalesIntel does. So, you know, the size of the database, the direct dial numbers, the LinkedIn URL, and then if there's one more piece, it's really the trigger events. So I love that with SalesIntel and the technographics. So that's all built in now, right? I want to say, hey, I want to go look for all the Salesforce customers that are 50 million to 100 million. No problem. Wave a magic wand. There's my list. Easy as that. So combining good data and the X factor, that really is the X factor in ScaleX. It's good data. And you know, I'm just really excited to be partnered with you guys. Any comments on, you know, our ability to partner? I know this is a pretty new partnership. What are the other things, Jason, that I should be thinking about when it comes to the data that I'm getting from SalesIntel?
Yeah, I mean, the exciting piece of working with something like ScaleX is you guys have done a great job of combining, you know, what for a lot of people, they wind up having to use 3 or 4 different platforms to try and get the functionality that you guys have built into this. The key to it, though, like we've talked about, is that accuracy. And so what we've really seen, you know, at least for me in particular, over the last 10 years or so, is we've had this influx of new technologies and new platforms. We had the democratization of marketing automation. It went from, you know, basically just being with the very large enterprises to being a central piece of everybody's tech stack. You've had the proliferation of, you know, sales enablement platforms, you know, like the Sales Lofts or Outreaches of the world. And the end result of that was, you know, most people really relied on being able to automate things and do things at a scale that they never could before, by just throwing however much data they could get at it, and then hoping that something would come out the other side of it. Right now, we're really bearing the fruits of all of those things that we did. So, your inboxes are full. It's hard to get people on the phone. You've even got things like legislation that are coming out to try and you know, prevent, you know, robo dialing. You know, and so it's become harder and harder and harder to break through that noise. And so sales and marketing sort of gone back to 101. You've got to be able to target accurately. You've got to have, you know, really good content that's going to connect with the right people, and you've got to be effective at getting it in front of them, because, you know, in particular, you know, the gatekeepers of the world, the Googles of the world, have become merciless in cracking down on people that do that spray and pray strategy. You know, it used to be you could load in, you know, something that was, you know, 60-70% accurate, and you could deal with all of those bounces and stuff like that, and just keep rolling. You know, now that's going to absolutely kill your domain reputation, your ability to be able to do any sort of email marketing campaigns. And so, yeah, I mean, it's really become a different world. And so if you can marry platforms like ScaleX and all that you can do with it with the right accurate data that you need to be effective, then it can be a really, really powerful tool.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, let's do this. Since this is a new partnership, our normal platform, and you see here, this has been in beta mode for about 4 months now. It's been road tested by at least a dozen customers. By the time you see this, you will be able to purchase this platform all in for us to handle your email, your LinkedIn outreach, your pay-per-click ads, your retargeting. So when someone comes to the website, all in for $3,000 per month. And I'll tell you what, we're going to throw in 1,000 leads a month at no additional cost from SalesIntel as part of that package. So you know, buy everything from ScaleX, get the data free as a carry-on, and you know, let's change the world here together, Jason.
Sounds great to me.
All right, everybody. It's great to have you on the webinar today. Jason, great to get to know you. Welcome to the company. I'm glad you're there. I've seen the newsletters. I've seen what you guys are doing there. And SalesIntel is going to be a force to be reckoned with. And I'm really, really happy to be partnered with you guys.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
And I love the blackjack on the wall there. That's appropriate. Come with SalesIntel and ScaleX and get a blackjack. All right, everybody. We are out.